This is Steven, and he thinks I have his bike for an episode of Sad to Rad, and that's where I clean and restore a trash bike. But instead, since his bike is hardly trash, just needs to be cleaned, I'll be transforming this into his Status 160 Dream Build. I sounded pretty confident there about transforming this bike, but this build would require the most work out of any bike I've worked on in recent memory. Anyway, about Steven, we go way back to 2008. We both used to race BMX in Phoenix, Arizona. Life took us in different directions. I moved to California to be a nurse. He spent summers in Colorado mountain biking, and it's been 15 years since I've seen Steven. And somehow, we both ended up living in Bentonville. So first up, Steven told me the drivetrain is clapped out and said the shifting is really bad, but I think it might just be dirty. Let's check the chain. Chain's still good. That shifted all the way. So it needs a little bit of love, and a lot of the times on Sad to Rad, I'm just replacing parts left and right, but I think this drivetrain is in good condition and I can save it. So let's get it all stripped down and cleaned up. Way too tight. A lot of the bolts were real tight on this bike, and I know why. In BMX, the culture is to tighten the bolts until they physically cannot get tighter. I've seen friends' bikes with ovalized steer tubes because they torque the stem bolts down to like 150 Newton meters. In BMX culture, using a torque wrench is not a thing, and companies don't post torque specs for their parts. At least they didn't used to when Steven and I raced. So when it came to removing the pedals, I wasn't surprised that these were so tight that I needed a breaker bar to remove them. I like to take off cranks when I clean bikes. When I was racing BMX, I would take off my cranks every single time I clean the bike. It's a little overkill, but for this, there's no self-extracting bolt, and I don't have a tool to get it off, so I'm just gonna leave it, and sometimes it's better not to f around and find out. One thing we're finding out with the Sad to Rad series is you gotta take care of your bike. You don't have to get crazy or take off your cranks weekly, but a bike wash once a week will go a long way. But I'm curious to hear, how often do you wash your bike? The big problem with this status is chain grease is absolutely caked on. I strip my chain with a plastic chain cleaning machine every time I wash my bike, but most of the time it seems like riding through puddles strips the chain anyway. My dad told me as a kid, if you take care of your bike, it'll take care of you. And that could be just like a dumb saying you tell your kid to get him to work on his own bike, but if you neglect your bike, it's gonna make your rides less fun and it's gonna cost you lots of money in the long run. Routing the cables on this bike was a whole nother ordeal, and it was really hard on this frame. The cable portholes were very small, and I couldn't even push my cable routing tool through. Throughout the build, I redid all the cables, and there was several times on this build where I'm like, dang, is it just not possible? Did I just break the frame? But I was in way too deep at this point. I had to keep trying. Next up, I wanted to check the derailleur hanger. With how scratched up that derailleur was and the funky shifting, I was positive it was bent. Sure enough, it was real pushed in, bent on several planes. I wish it had a UDH because it probably needs to be replaced. I just get a little weary aligning these back with a tool because it feels like it softens the metal each time you bend it back. I'd say I got it about 95% good, but I did text Steven and told him it's probably a good idea to buy a new one. All right, glad that got sorted out. That's a weight off my shoulders. That was a lot more work than I expected, but we're not done with the restoration yet. We gotta crack the suspension open. You wouldn't know it by looking at it, but this Status 160 is a sleeper build with the removed fork decals. I looked up the serial number, and it's actually a RockShox Zeb Ultimate, a high-end fork. He said it had been serviced not long ago, but the oil was pretty dark. I'm not sure how it gets like that. I went with SKF seals. They're pretty high quality in my opinion, but I'm not sure how they hold up over time compared to the stock seals. So if you have experience with SKF long term, let me know in the comments. When I checked the air spring, it felt like there was a ton of air trapped in the negative air chamber. So I pulled that out to clean it and reset it. Even if I'm wrong about that, getting it cleaned and lubed is going to make this fork feel like new again. With the Zeb all finished, we could turn our attention to the rear shock. And this Fox DPX2 is a few generations old now. It's from 2021. I don't even think Fox makes it anymore. And I asked Steven if he had plans to upgrade the shock down the road, maybe go coil eventually. And he goes, "Oh, I like my suspension. I don't want to change that." And I just thought that was a really cool answer. It let me know that Steven doesn't want the best bike. He wants a bike that functions well, a bike that's familiar, a bike that he knows how it's going to react. And this Fox DPX2 has served him well. Why change it? Before I put the shock back in, let's check the pivot bearings. This is a 2021 model, but Steven bought it like last year or something, so it should be fresh. Let's see here. Oh yeah. All right, let's get that shock back in. Well, that wraps up the restoration, and now we can start replacing stuff. And these code brakes have squishy levers, go figure. And I didn't know this, but SRAM quietly discontinued the entire code brake lineup last month. So SRAM does not make dot fluid brakes anymore. And I was talking to Steven and he goes, "Oh, I prefer dot fluid brakes." I'm like, "Me too." So I offered him to change out his codes for some brand new Hayes Dominions. I could have serviced the code brakes, but I've discovered that doesn't solve the squishy lever feel. To solve that, it would need an entire lever rebuild, and I don't have time to do that. Maybe that's why SRAM discontinued the entire code lineup. I had a spare set of these Hayes Dominions because N+1 Bikes sells the front and rear set for just $301 using my Evan 11 code, making these the best value and strongest brakes for the money. You can say what you want, but I like dot fluid brakes. I've had nothing but issues with mineral oil brakes over the years. Most of the time they have a wandering bite point that takes a ton of fiddling to get rid of. In my experience, dot fluid brakes are much easier to bleed. And dot fluid is standardized, no getting ripped off by proprietary mineral oil. You can buy dot fluid at Walmart. All right, got the Hayes Dominions installed. I think he's gonna really like these. I bled them off camera because I don't really like showing brake bleeding. It's really boring. But let's talk about Steven's dream upgrades. He told me that his dream upgrade for this Status 160 would be super strong wheels. Wheels that are just bomb-proof and can withstand anything. So I looked around and I considered building the wheels from scratch, but I have a baby coming in 4 days now, so I'm crunched on time. And oh, I didn't tell you, my wife and I are waiting to find out the gender. We've never done that before, so it's a total surprise of what we're having. I think it's gonna be a boy though. Anyway, I was browsing N+1 Bikes and I found these wheels at a super good price. DT Swiss FR541 with DT370 hubs. FR stands for Freeride, and these rims are bomb-proof. The hubs have kind of low engagement, but Steven could buy the ratchet upgrade down the line. Steven told me that he can only use downhill tires. If not, he just gets punctures like crazy, the tires get ripped to shreds, and he really likes these Specialized cannonballs. But I've not had great luck with Specialized tires in the past, so I convinced him, why don't we try out some Continental Kryptonite DH casing? All right, let's get these installed. When I watch videos of a YouTuber upgrading their friend's biker car, a lot of the time they have sponsors providing them with those upgrades. But I don't have sponsors, it's just me and you. I use my money made from affiliate links from N+1 Bikes. I get a small commission on those sales, it doesn't cost you anything extra. Actually, using code EVAN11 at n1bikes.com gets you 11% off so many parts. So I've been saving up my affiliate earnings. I wanted to spread the love. I just love upgrading bikes, and I'm super fortunate to be in this position, and it's thanks to you guys. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure Steven will too. But now enjoy this montage of me removing a stuck rotor bolt. I am so glad that came off. I thought I was going to be stuck there forever. I even started looking around my shop for a different rotor, but I couldn't find another 200mm rotor. But the final upgrade, Steven absolutely loves these Sensus meaty paw grips and said they're mandatory for his builds. They must be popular or something because they're all sold out except in bright orange. I hope he likes these bright colors. Man, I thought this was gonna be an easy project, but this was the most work I've ever done on a Sad to Rad bike. But I'm happy with how it turned out though. I think part of that is reconnecting with an old friend, and Steven is gonna love the changes we made. All right, let's go meet up with him. Hey man, you ready to see your bike?